Welcome to Slate Church Online. We are so glad that you're tuning in today, and we pray that this message will bless you no matter where you're watching from. If this message impacts you today, we would love to hear about it. Send an email to mystory@slatechurch.com.
Well, listen, I am fired up today. I'm super excited to preach. We had an incredible time in our 11 a.m. service. I believe we're going to have an amazing time this evening in the 4 o'clock service. I've been excited to preach all week long. As Brandon was saying, I was supposed to preach last week, but on the Friday before I preached, I ended up puking 13 times. All right? And so I called up Brandon like, hey, man, you're going to have to preach this Sunday. It's not going to happen for me. And on 2 days' notice, Brandon brought an incredible word to our church. Can we give it up once more? That was amazing last week, man. Loved it. But hey, this week I am firing on all cylinders. I am ready to go. I am excited to be preaching tonight. As Brandon said, my name is Luke Betger, and I have the great privilege of being able to be one of the lead pastors here at Slate Church with my wife, Victoria, and Brandon and Emma Richardson. And we are so thrilled by what God is doing here every single week. It's absolutely incredible to see what he's done, and it's absolutely incredible to see what he's doing. And I want to encourage you. I'm going to reiterate this. Next week, Vision Sunday. Don't miss out. This is a big, big Sunday for us as a church. Listen, vision is not just information that you hear, right? But vision is actually something that you catch. And next week, I really think we're about to catch some of the vision that God has for us in 2018. It's going to be a phenomenal Sunday, so don't miss out on Vision Sunday. Amen? All right, you ready for the word? Come on, can we expect the unexpected tonight? Can we just expect that something is going to take place tonight in this service right now? I believe if we would just stir up our faith, maybe raise our expectation just a little bit, I think that God is going to do something pretty amazing here tonight. And I am so excited for it. But let's lean in, okay? Let's not wait till I'm on point number 2 to be able to get something from God. I think he might be able to share something with you in the first sentence that I speak tonight, all right? I believe that God has something for you. I don't think that you're just here by accident, just showed up here. I believe that you're here for a purpose, and I believe that God wants to speak to you. So let's ready ourselves for what he wants to say. On this date, February the 4th, 2018, this doesn't have to be just another day in your life, but this could be a day where you look back and you say, that's where God started to do something in my life. That's where everything changed. That's where it happened. That can happen tonight, but we got to be ready for it. We got to expect it. I believe it's going to happen. So we're going to have an incredible, incredible time in church tonight. Amen? Awesome. If you have your Bible, would you turn with me to the book of Judges? Judges. We're going to be reading chapter 6, verses 11 through 16. If you don't have your Bible, you can feel free to follow along on the screen behind me. Are you there? Yeah. Awesome. 3 people are there. This is what it says. Judges 6, verse 11. The angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah. This was long before she had her TV show. Way before her speech at the Golden Globes. Listen, I got that was just as bad as this morning, okay? I know it's a terrible joke, but I'm going to say it again. That response was even worse than the joke was, okay? That was terrible. But all right, it goes on. That belonged to Joash the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, "Go in the strength you have and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." The Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive. Let's pray. Jesus, thank you so much for what you're doing in our midst. We thank you, Jesus, that you are here. I pray, God, that you would speak to us in this place tonight. I pray that you would speak through me tonight, Jesus. I pray that we would encounter you in an incredible, in a new way tonight. I pray that above all else, your name would be lifted high in this place, that all the glory and praise would be unto you in this service tonight. And we pray, Jesus, that Tom Brady's arm will throw only touchdowns this evening. And everybody said, amen, amen. Well, of course, it is Super Bowl Sunday. And do we have any Eagles fans in the house? Come on, look at that. Neil is the biggest Eagles fan I've ever met, I think. Do we have any Patriots fans in the house? We got a couple. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tonight. I'm excited for it. But listen, here on Super Bowl Sunday, I just want to tell you a sports-related story. I think that it works well on Super Bowl Sunday. But the truth is I love sports. I'm a big sports guy. I think sports are fantastic. I grew up playing sports. I played some football in high school. All right, any high school football players? All right, yep, that's right. That's about right. But even more than football, my main sport when I was growing up was baseball. Okay, I know some of you might not even consider that a sport, but it is, I promise. So I played a lot of baseball growing up. And I loved baseball, and I was pretty good at playing baseball. I had just kind of a natural ability, and so I played in Waterloo's AAA team, all right? Yeah, you should be impressed, okay? AAA, this was the big time when you're a teenager. And I will never forget one baseball game that I played when I was 15 years old. And it happened in the month of May. And right at the beginning of the season, but I remember we were playing the best team in our entire league. And they were always the best team, and I have no idea why this is, why they're the best team. I don't know, maybe they're still the best team today, I don't know. But it was always Guelph, okay? I don't know why Guelph was the best team, but they just were for some reason. And so we were playing against Guelph, and the truth is we weren't very good as a team. But I remember on this particular day, I got up to the plate, and I was there ready to hit the ball, and I just decided, this is my game. This is it. I'm going to hit this ball. I can't wait for this. And I will never forget the pitcher throwing the ball, and I was lined up. I was waiting for it, and I turned on the ball, and just boom. I mean, I hit that ball so hard. It just went off the bat so fast. It was insane. And I'm just like, okay, this is nuts. And I just started running. And by the time I got to first base, the ball was still in the air, okay? It was still flying. And I rounded first base, and I was on my way to second base. And it was about when I got to second base that I realized the ball had gone over the fence, and I had hit a home run, all right? Now listen, this is a big deal when you're 15. Not many people hit home runs when you're 15 years old, and certainly not out of the park. All right, when you're 15, you hit a home run, you really hit a single, and then everybody just makes mistakes everywhere, and you run around the bases, right? But in this instance, the ball flew, and it went so far, and it flew over the fence, and it landed in the middle of the road on the other side of the ball diamond, which was insane. And to tell you the truth, to this day, every time I am driving down that road, I will say to my wife, did you know, when I was 15, I hit a home run that landed right here where we're driving, okay? And without fail, she looks at me and says, Luke, I do not care, okay? Every single time, without fail. But this was a big deal. It was such an incredible moment for me. And I just remember that it felt like every single person was on my side. Right? Everybody was cheering me on. All my teammates were going crazy. All the parents were going crazy. Everybody was on my side. They had my back. They were so happy for me that I hit this home run, and I was so pumped also. However, as the season progressed, I honestly, and I'm not even kidding you right now, I did not get another hit for the rest of that season. I had the worst season of my baseball career, if you can call it a career, okay? I had the worst season imaginable. And the truth is, it's because every single time I went up to bat, I was swinging for a home run instead of just trying to make contact. And to be honest, that'll preach maybe in another message, okay? But every time I went up to bat, I was striking out, and I couldn't get a hit, and it was terrible. It was horrible. I felt bad. And the truth is that all those people who just a few games before seemed to be on my side, it felt like they had sort of turned on me a little bit. Like they weren't really on my side anymore. They didn't really have my back anymore. Now it was more like when I would go up to the plate, everybody was just expecting me to strike out. And it just felt bad. And the parents, I could tell that they were like, okay, here comes Luke, easy out coming to the plate, right? And it was like I would just struck out and I didn't have anybody on my side anymore. And oftentimes as Christians, when we begin to strike out in life, when things aren't going the way that we want them to, when we come up against difficulty, when we feel like we're not doing so well, it's so easy for us to sometimes feel like God doesn't have our back. Like maybe he was on our side when we were doing well. Like God was on my side when things were going great in life, and now all of a sudden I've begun to struck out a little bit and things aren't working, and now it's like, God, what's going on? Are you even cheering for me anymore? Are you cheering against me? Are you on my side? What is happening? God, what is going on? And it's so easy for us to feel like that. But tonight I want to preach a message, and I hope it's encouraging to you. It was encouraging for me to write this message, but I'm titling the message tonight, God is on your side. Whether you're striking out or whether you're hitting home runs in life, God is on your side. Through the good times, through the bad times, God is on your side. Turn to your neighbor, tell him God is on your side. God is on your side. If we go back to that story of Gideon that we read just a couple minutes ago, we see this unbelievable example of a man who is an Israelite. And I'm going to give you a little bit of context as to the world that Gideon lived in, because I think it illuminates this story in an interesting way. But you see, Gideon was an Israelite, and the Israelites at this time in history were in this constant cycle where they would go through a difficult time. They were most often conquered by a foreign nation, and then they would pray to God. They would say, God, we need your help. We need you to redeem us. We need you to rescue us from this terrible nation that has conquered us. And God, in all his greatness and all of his grace, would every time come along and rescue them. And then the Israelites would say, okay, thank you so much, God. Now we're just going to go back to living how we want. And they fell into this cycle over and over again, which is not unlike how many Christians live their lives today. Isn't that right? It's easy to get stuck in that cycle. Things start to go bad. God, I need you. God, come help me. God comes. He helps. He provides a way. We say, God, thank you for providing a way. That was fantastic. But now, if you could just maybe go over there, stand in the corner, because you're kind of killing my vibe, and I just want to, I don't want you kind of being around, right? And then things go bad, and we ask God. We get in these kinds of cycles all the time. And this is the cycle that the Israelites find themselves in. It's not a great place to be. Then we come to this story of Gideon. And at this time, the Israelites are hiding out in caves because they're being oppressed by the people that are called the Midianites. And we see God shows up and he speaks to Gideon. And where does God find Gideon? Gideon is threshing wheat in a wine press. He's threshing wheat in a wine press. Gideon, what are you doing threshing wheat in a wine press? Everybody knows you don't thresh wheat in a wine press, right? I knew that. Did you know that? Of course you knew that. Everybody knows that. Nate knew that. We know that you don't thresh wheat in a wine press. It doesn't make any sense. Because when you would thresh wheat, what you would do is you would take the wheat, you would throw it in the air, and the wind would come and it would blow away all of the chaff, all of the excess, all of the stuff that you didn't need, and the wheat would fall down onto the threshing floor where you were able to collect it. But Gideon is threshing wheat in a wine press. Now, a wine press at this time was most often in a cave, in a dark place, in a place that was low. And so Gideon is hiding in a cave trying to thresh wheat. It doesn't make any sense to thresh wheat in a wine press. What is going on here? But if we read just a little bit further, as we did a moment ago, we read that Gideon is doing this because he is a fearful man. He's afraid of the Midianites. And he's doing things that he shouldn't be doing that don't make a whole lot of sense because fear has taken hold of him. I wonder if there's anybody in here who maybe can relate. Maybe there have been times in your life where you've been hiding from the things that you should be doing. Maybe you've been doing things that don't make a whole lot of sense because you're too afraid to do what you actually should be doing. And you see, it's in this situation that a messenger of the Lord appears to Gideon, and he says to him, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Of course, Gideon is confused by this statement. I would be confused by this statement as well. I mean, Gideon is like, "God, can't you see what I'm doing? I'm threshing wheat in a wine press. I am scared. I'm afraid of the Midianites. What are you doing coming here and calling me mighty warrior? This makes absolutely no sense. God, I think that you got the wrong person because I can't be the mighty warrior that you're talking about. It's not me, God. I'm afraid. I am not a mighty warrior." But you see, sometimes God will say something to your current circumstance that doesn't make any sense to you right now. It makes no sense. And the first point I want to speak to you from this evening is that God sees what you can be, not just what you are. Amen? God sees what you can be, not just what you are. God has this incredible way of speaking to your potential. God is able to call things out of you that you don't even know exist within you, that people around you don't even know exist within you at this moment, because God, He sees who He has called you to be and not just who you currently are. You know, my wife and I, we met for the very first time in a church service. Yeah, we did. In a church service at Hillsong Church in Sydney, Australia, in Balcombe Hills, at the Hills campus, at a 6 o'clock p.m. evening service in the month of February. I think that's correct. Maybe January. She's saying January. She's probably right. So, okay, January. All right, never mind. Take that moment back. That's, but yeah, whatever. But we met in church, which I think is awesome because church is such a huge part of our life now. And I love that the first place that our relationship started was in church. And we've spent so much time in church since then. I think that's kind of a cool thing. And hey, just a pro tip, all right? Find somebody to marry in church, okay? That's just a little pro tip. So, like, girls, look for a guy in church, okay? I think it's a good idea. Guys, make sure that you're in church so a girl can meet you in church, amen? Hey, that's just a little preview of relationship series coming at you later this month. Don't miss out. It's important stuff. But listen, we met on that day, but I cannot for the life of me figure out what Victoria saw in me at that time, okay? I was 19 years old, and to be quite honest, I was a bit of an idiot, all right? As a lot of 19-year-old guys are. Sorry if you're 19 in this place. But I mean, I couldn't take care of myself. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I wasn't that good at a whole lot. And, you know, like, hygiene just was not on my radar at this time, okay? Personal hygiene, it didn't matter to me when I was 19 years old. I mean, it just didn't. Here's something that will gross you out, but please don't judge me, okay? I hope I'm not the only one that's ever done this. But listen, I think for my first year at Bible college, I don't think that I washed my bed sheets once, all right? I seriously don't think I did. I mean, this is what she was working with when she met me. To tell you the truth, I hardly had bed sheets, okay? I shared a house with 5 other dirty guys, and it was a pigsty. It was filthy. I just had a mattress. That was basically enough. But for some reason, Victoria saw not just who I was, but the man that I could become in the future. And listen, I don't think that I have become that man yet, but thank God that I'm well on my way, and I'm further along now than I was 10 years ago, amen? Which is in large part thanks to Victoria. But she saw not who I was, but who I could be. The only thing I had going for me was that I played guitar. That was it, which honestly balances most of that other stuff out. So another pro tip, learn to play guitar. But I praise God that it's the same with him. He doesn't just see where I currently am, but he sees what I can become. God says, Gideon, I see you hiding out in that wine press. I know that you're fearful. I know that you don't think you have what it takes. But God says, I know what you can become, and that's why I'm calling you mighty warrior. That's why I call you mighty warrior. And I think that it's time that some of us in this room today start to realize, thank God he sees not just who you are, but he sees who you can become. You might be hiding out because of fear. You might be ignoring those things that you don't want to deal with because you're too afraid to deal with them. You might not feel worthy to pursue that dream on your life. You might have counted yourself out. You might not feel good enough. You might not be able to see your own potential, but thank God you need to know tonight that even though you can't see your potential, God sees all that you can be. He's calling you a mighty warrior. He sees what you can be. Listen, I don't know how defeated you might feel today. I don't know what kind of battles you might have lost this week. Maybe you lost some emotional battles this week. Maybe you lost some relational battles this week. Maybe you lost some spiritual battles this week. I don't know. But the truth is that even though you've been losing those battles now, it doesn't mean you have to lose them in the future, because God is calling you a mighty warrior. These are things that you can overcome. God is on your side. Gideon replies the way that we expect him to. He says, pardon me, my Lord, but if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? God, if you're so good, why is this going on? Why have we been conquered? Why do we feel like we've been abandoned? Why is Midian even controlling us in the first place if you're so good? If I'm such a mighty warrior, why has this kind of thing happened? God, if you're really on our side, what's going on? If you're really with me, God, why did I lose my job? God, if you really love me, why am I facing this sickness? God, if you're really with me, if I'm actually a mighty warrior, why do I have to deal with this stress in my life? Why do I have to come up against these barriers? What is going on? Gideon's asking all of these kinds of questions, and because of these questions, he draws the conclusion, wrongly, that God has abandoned them. And to tell you the truth, I mean, if I'm being honest with you tonight, there have been numerous times in my life where I have felt like there is no way that God could possibly be on my side. I'm not going to stand up here as a preacher and pretend that things are always awesome, that things are always amazing, that I don't struggle as well, that I don't come up against hardship, that I don't come up against sickness. There's been many times in my life where I've wondered, God, are you even there? What is going on? I need some help here because I'm hiding out. I'm afraid of what the future looks like. I'm afraid of what things are going to become. I don't feel like a mighty warrior. I know that your word says that I am, but I don't feel like it. I don't feel like I have what I need to be able to fulfill what you have called me to. I love how God responds to Gideon. God doesn't try and defend himself. God doesn't try and make up a reason for why this stuff is happening. God says in verse 14, Gideon, go in the strength you have and save Israel. Am I not sending you? Go in the strength that you have. My second point this evening is you have what you need. You have what you need. I think that too often we sit around waiting for God to bless us so that we're able to make some sort of difference. Too often we sit around saying, God, send a blessing. Send something so that I can make a difference. And God is saying, no. Go in the strength that you have. Listen, many of us are sitting around paralyzed by our circumstance, paralyzed by our situation. And we're saying, God, send some breakthrough. God, send some freedom. God, send a blessing of some sort. But God is saying, no. Go in the strength you already have. Listen, God already sent a blessing. It came 2018 years ago. His name was Jesus Christ. And he died on the cross so that we wouldn't have to live in slavery, but we could live in victory. We could live in freedom. So it's time today that we stop living our lives like slaves. He's already blessed us. God is on your side. God doesn't speak to what Gideon doesn't have. He speaks to what Gideon does have. And if we fast forward just about 1,000 years in the history of the Bible, we see another incredible example of this in Acts chapter 3. Peter and John, two disciples of Jesus, are going into the temple, and they encounter a beggar who could not walk. And Peter says to this man, listen to this, silver or gold I do not have. But listen, but what I do have, I give you. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, walk. Thank God that Peter didn't focus on what he didn't have. Peter didn't have any money to give this guy. Thank God Peter wasn't focused on the fact that, oh my goodness, if only I could give this guy some money, that might make a difference in his life. Oh, if only I had a little bit more knowledge, maybe I could diagnose this guy and that would help him. Thank God that Peter realized, no, it's not about what I don't have. It's actually about what I do have. And what do I have? I have the power of Jesus Christ living within me. In the name of Jesus, get on your feet and walk. And what happens? This guy stands to his feet. His feet are healed. His ankles are strengthened. He enters the temple courts praising the name of Jesus. Thank God that Peter realized it wasn't about what he didn't have. It was about what he did have. He went in the strength that he had. Maybe you're sitting there, though, and you say, Luke, you don't understand. If only I had a platform to preach from. If only I had a ministry. If only I had a position of influence. If only I had a position of leadership. If only I had a couple hundred people following me, maybe then I could make a difference in this world. Maybe then I could overcome some of these things that I've been struggling with. Maybe then, listen, you got to stop focusing on the things that you don't have and start focusing on what you do have. Hey, listen, next time that you find yourself at Starbucks, next time you're ordering that grande, non-fat, skinny soy latte with extra whipped cream, maybe you can start to realize that the smile on your face and the demeanor and the way that you talk to the person brewing your coffee can actually preach pretty loud. Maybe the next time you find yourself at work, you need to understand that that office building, that actually is your platform to preach the name of Jesus by the way that you live your life. Maybe you need to understand that that classroom where you spend time, that's your pulpit, that's your opportunity, that by the way you live your life in that place, you will speak louder to the people that you come in contact with than my words on this platform ever will. What do you have in your hand? What strength has God given to you? Stop focusing on what you don't have. Begin to focus on the strength that you do have. Understand that God is on your side here. Make sure that you're a good steward with what God has given to you so that God can give you that which you do not yet have, but that which you have been praying for. The truth is, we need a shift of perspective. I talk to people all the time, leaders and whoever else, and they say, listen, I just don't think I can do it. I'm not good enough because I can't speak. I'm not good at communicating. I can't possibly inspire people. I can't possibly speak to people. I can't do anything like that. But listen, friend, maybe we need a bit of a shift in perspective and understand that, listen, you may not be a strong speaker, but that might be because God has made you an incredible listener. And the truth is, more lives have been changed by people who are willing to actually just sit and listen to somebody else than the kind of people who just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. What do you have in your hand? Truth is, you've got 2 ears and you've got 1 mouth. You've already got what you need to succeed. We need a shift of perspective. Or people say to me, I'm just not confident enough to be an upfront person. I don't have the confidence to stand on a platform. I don't have the confidence to stand in front and lead people from the front. I don't have what it takes. I don't have that kind of confidence in my life. What if instead of focusing on what you didn't have, what if you realize, hey, you're not an upfront person? That's okay. That probably means that God has made you a behind-the-scenes servant instead. And the Bible says that the greatest among you shall be your servant. And we should never underestimate what God can do with somebody who is willing to serve others. Stop focusing on what you don't have. Shift your perspective. Understand that God has given you the strength that you need. It's in your hand. You have what you need. You have what you need. I'm so thankful that the church is made up of all kinds of different people with all kinds of different strengths. You know, I'm not good at math. I'm terrible at math. Math is not my strong subject. I'm not going to pretend that I'm good at math. You can ask my wife. I am terrible at math. She mocks me relentlessly for how bad I am at math. It's terrible. I mean, when I was a kid growing up, I just struggled with it. I couldn't figure out my multiplication table, and I couldn't figure out how to divide. I still don't know how to do that stuff, okay? I'm just terrible at math. In high school, I had to get math tutors, and I struggled through math all the time. It is just not my strong subject. I'm bad at math, but guess what? We have people in our church who are fantastic at math, and I'm glad that we do. You might not know it, but we have a guy in church. His name is Ben Yancey. He's sitting right over here. He's fantastic at math. He leads our entire business team here at church. And the truth is, as much as it takes somebody to get up here and speak a message for church to happen, as much as it takes people to lead worship for church to happen, every single week, it takes some people to do good math to make sure the church happens. We need that. And I thank God that even though I am terrible at math, I recognize that that's not my strength. It's the strength of someone like Ben. And because of what he does in this church, we are seeing the fruit of Ben's math abilities every single week when we see people getting saved in our church. What strength do you have? Start to focus on what you do have. You have what you need. God is on your side. Shift your perspective. You might not make a six-figure income. Guess what? That's okay, because that might mean that you have 6 nights at home every single week with your family. And we should never underestimate what it means to sow into families, to raise up good children with strong family values. Don't focus on what you don't have. Understand that what you do have has been given to you by God. Steward it well. You have what you need. God is on your side. Is this all right, church? Come on, I'm going to need you to do a bit better if this is okay. Is this all right, church? Listen, let's make sure we don't go out of this place and cheer for the Super Bowl louder than what we're cheering for the presence of God in this place. Amen? Amen. My last point this evening is that it's not all about you. That's hard for some people to hear. It's not all about you. With God on your side, you need to know that it's less about your power and more about His presence. Amen. I'm going to say that again. With God on your side, you need to know that it's less about your power and more about His presence. You see, listen, that deserves a better clap than that. Come on, church. You see, Gideon, he's still unconvinced. Gideon still doesn't know what's going on. He still doesn't understand how he could possibly save Israel. He tells God, hey, that's great. You're calling me a mighty warrior. That's great. You're telling me to go in the strength that I have. Fantastic. He tells God, my clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. That's what Gideon says. God, I don't know if you knew this, but I don't come from any special family. I don't come from that family. And not only that, but I'm the weakest. I'm the least in my family. But you need to know today that God is not calling you because you have all the skills to win. God is simply calling you to have the courage to fight, and He will take care of the winning. You see, you will always have everything that you need to accomplish what God is calling you to do, but you have to trust God. You have to step out in faith. You have to have the courage to believe that God actually is on your side and that what He is calling you to actually is believable, actually is achievable. Gideon is saying, I can't possibly do this. Gideon is saying, God, I am the least. There is no way, God, that I can possibly conquer the Midianites. I just don't have the resources to make that happen. I don't have the army. I don't have the resources in order to conquer the Midianites. But you see, God is saying to Gideon, Gideon, I don't need your resources. I don't need your resources, Gideon. All I need is your faith. I am the resource. Amen. God's saying, I don't need your resources. That's not what I need. Gideon, I just need you to have the courage to take one step of faith, and I will be the resource. I will give you what you need to defeat the Midianites. You might be in here today facing a situation you don't think that you can overcome because you don't have the resources. Maybe you don't feel like you're educated enough. Maybe you don't feel like you have enough money. Maybe you don't feel like you're confident enough. Maybe you don't feel like you're good looking enough. Maybe you don't feel like you can possibly do it, like you don't have the potential. You need to know that you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have all the resources. You just have to have a little bit of faith and the willingness to step into what God has for you. And He will be the resource to take you through whatever it is you're going through. Verse 16, God says, I will be with you. It's not all about you. God says, I will be with you, and you will strike down the Midianites. It's not all about what you have or what you don't have. You know, the fact that I'm even standing on this platform speaking to you is a bit of a miracle in itself. And I know it's a favorite topic of preachers often to talk about how they used to be too shy to stand on a platform and speak. And truthfully, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's because it's just a bunch of people who are allowing God to use them. But listen, I absolutely fit this category. I grew up being so shy. I mean, I hated public speaking. The idea of standing what I am doing right now would have frightened me like you would not even believe when I was younger. Anytime that I had to give a presentation in school, I would freak out. I would be so scared. I would feel like I would want to puke. I would start sweating. My mouth would go totally dry. The truth is, it still goes totally dry. The truth is, I still get nervous before I speak. It's what happens. I remember when I was very young, when I was in Sunday school, I remember my Sunday school teacher pulled my mom aside one day and she said, hey, is everything okay with Luke? My mom was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we think so. We don't know for sure, but we think so. The Sunday school teacher said, well, we're a little bit worried because we've never heard him speak a single word. I was that shy. I just wouldn't speak to anybody. Ever. I hated it. Now, I don't know why God has chosen me of all people to stand up on a platform and speak to you today. It's not something that comes naturally to me at all. I remember the first time that I was asked to speak in church and I was just like, no way. Are you kidding me? That is not my thing. I do not want to stand up. I do not want to speak to people. At this time, I played guitar in the band, and that's what I did. I said, listen, I'll play guitar all day. No problem. But there's no way I'm going to get up there and speak. That's just out of my comfort zone. That's just not my gifting. That's just not what I'm supposed to do. But I learned over time that while playing the guitar was one of my giftings, speaking and preaching was actually one of my callings. And I went on this journey of having to discover that God had other plans. But I have to remind myself every single time that I get up on this platform that, listen, this is not about me. This has nothing to do with me. It's not about me. I have to remind myself, God is on my side. It's all about Him. It's all about His power working in me. Because if this were about me in any way at all, there's no way that I would have the courage to even walk up these stairs and speak to you tonight. It wouldn't possibly happen. I couldn't do it. And you see, every time before I speak, every single time I take a step. And I'm not talking about just a step of faith, although that's a part of it, but I take a literal step. And this is something that I learned from a pastor named Craig Rochelle. And he's a fantastic preacher, and I modified it just a little bit for myself. But every time before I speak, anywhere, every time, and we have this little green room over there, every single time, as soon as our little pre-roll starts, I kind of get by myself, and I take a step backwards every time, and I say, God, this is not about me. It's not about my strength. It's not about what I have. It's not about my resource. It's not about what I can do. It's not about my skills. And then every single time I take a step forward, a physical step, and I say, God, it's all about you. It's all about you. I thank you that you've given me the strength I need. You give me the courage I need. You give me the faith I need. You give me what I need, the words I need. All glory unto your name. I don't need any of the glory. I don't need any of it. All glory unto your name. And as I take that step, I feel the presence of God resource me with what I need to be able to stand up here and preach his word. And I wonder today, what is it that you need to take a step towards in faith? Maybe you're here today and you're saying, God, I don't have what it takes to beat this sickness. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the resources needed to overcome this. Maybe today you need to take a step of faith towards God, and you need to say, maybe I don't have the faith, I don't have the resource, I don't have what it takes, but I thank God that he has what I need, that he is the resource. It's not all about me and my strength. Maybe today you're just feeling super stressed, like you don't know how you're going to go forward in life, like anxiety is just crippling you, like you don't know how you're going to find the strength to get out of bed tomorrow morning. Maybe you need to take a step of faith and say, I don't have the resource, but I serve a God who has the resource to give me what I need. That might be you today. It's less about your power. It's more about his presence. It's less about what you say about yourself. It's more about what God says about you. Maybe you're like Gideon and you're saying to yourself, I can't. There's no way I can do this. That dream that God's put on my heart, impossible. I'm the least. My family is terrible. If you only knew what my family was like, if you only knew the sin that I've been involved in, if you knew what I was doing this morning, if you knew what I was doing last night, if you knew the kind of past that I had, you would know that there's no way that I can possibly do anything. We need to stop speaking to ourselves like that, church. We need to cut that language out of our vocabulary, because that is not what God says about us. You see, here are some of the things that God says about you. Listen to this. He says that you're a child of God. He says that you're justified and redeemed. He says that you are set free from sin and death. He says that you are accepted. He says that you are blessed. He says that you are redeemed and forgiven. He says that you are his workmanship. He says that you are loved. He says that you are chosen. He says that you are a mighty warrior. Perhaps you're here today and you don't feel like change is possible. You don't know how you're going to get through. You need to start understanding today, friend, that God is on your side, that God will get you through. Why don't you just lean into him? Allow him to be your resource tonight, church. He will get you through. He is on your side. You need to make that your declaration as you leave here today. God is on my side. He has resourced me. He has given me everything that I need. I'm going to go in the strength that I have. God is on my side. There might be some of you here, you need to write that out on a Post-it note and stick it on the bathroom mirror so that it's the first thing you see every single morning when you go into the bathroom and you're brushing your teeth and you realize God is on my side. I don't know what kind of battles you might face every day, but when you understand that you can face them with God on your side, it's a whole lot easier to go through the fire sometimes with that understanding. We need to make that our declaration as we leave this place. God is on my side. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I'm going to step into my future with confidence, with assurance that I have everything I need to accomplish what God is calling me to. He's on your side. This is something I'm going to read to you now, which I declare over myself, and you can make this your declaration today. I'm going to declare it over you. But it's a declaration about God being on your side, about him giving you what you need. The truth is, he's on my side. No sickness, no setback, no bruised relationship, no lost job, no poor financial situation, no fear, no anxiety, no depression, no regrets, no shame, no past mistakes. Those aren't going to ruin my life. I may get knocked down, but I will not get knocked out. God is on my side. No army that tries to enslave me will be able to claim victory over me. God is on my side. He has equipped me with what I need to be victorious. I just need to have the faith to trust him. I just need to take action. God is on my side. And through my faith, My weakness is turned to strength, and I am able to overcome anything that comes against me in the name of Jesus Christ, for the glory of the Lord. Come on, church, if you believe it, why don't you begin to lift your voice in this place? We're going to begin to sing. God is on your side. Hallelujah.
Thanks so much for watching. If you were impacted by the message today, you can send us an email at mystory@slatechurch.com. And if you'd like to learn more, you can fill out one of our online Connect cards. We would love to see you at one of our Sunday services, and make sure to stay connected by following us on any of our social media, including Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.